Good boy. Right, good morning, OTG family. So in true newborn fashion, Casey did not want to settle before I came live, so I just decided I'd bring him on. So everyone, meet the newest addition to Nu Skin. He is currently 4 weeks old, and he's very excited to be on here live with you guys. So I'm going to do my best to get through this, and hopefully he will be semi-chilled. But we wanted to come on here and introduce a couple of different things over the next couple of weeks. So some of you may have seen that we had a UK leadership event in December, which was hosted by the amazing, the wonderful Susie Mollison. And this was basically came off the back of a leadership retreat that had gone on in Brussels a few weeks prior. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it because I was very heavily pregnant at the time. But the idea is that we wanted to create alignment within not just the UK, but within the European markets. We wanted all of the leaders focused on driving growth and you know, just becoming better versions of themselves, becoming better leaders. And thankfully we had Susie representing us there from the UK. She then came back and facilitated a very similar session for us in the UK in mid-December. And for those of us who couldn't make it, that were Ruby Plus leaders in the UK, we have then since created an amazing group chat where there's accountability going on. But for me, what's so exciting is that we are the most aligned that I feel like we've ever been as, you know, a UK market with the leadership and whatnot. And that's always where the growth happens. Always when I'm in the business where I see, you know, the UK going into mass momentum. It's when we're all singing off the same hymn sheet. We're all working together as a team. And that's really, you know, what we have created. However, one thing that I mentioned to the group last week is that I feel like this leadership group is the best kept secret in the UK. And, you know, in earlier stages in my journey in my business, I would have always really, you know, strove to have been included in these things. You know, I would have wanted it as, you know, a goal and a carrot that's being dangled to be like, I want to be part of the leadership team. I want to get into that group. Like, how can I surround myself with leaders that are having success, that have growth mindsets and whatever else. And this is what we have created. And this group will be for anyone who obviously wants to participate, but you need to be a Ruby Plus to be invited in. So it's invite only, it's pull not push energy. You don't need to be involved if you don't want to. But for us, we feel really passionately that this is going to be the team that is going to create the most success in this market moving forward, particularly with everything that we have coming out right now. So I hope that you're really excited, first and foremost, to learn a little bit more about this. We are going to have trainings from people for the next 2 weeks that are part of this UK leadership team. And I'm just really excited for it. So it's going to be live streamed in here at 10 a.m. every morning, or sometimes a little bit later if you have someone who's distracting you. But just set your alarms for 10 a.m. every morning, or watch it back on replay. If you're watching this back on replay, just hashtag replay. So before I talk a little bit about the run to Ruby, I am going to just, you know, quickly share my story for those of you who don't know me. I know there's lots of new faces in here. So my name is Louise Spencer. I am Irish, but I moved to the UK to study physiotherapy and worked in that profession for almost a decade. I did my injection therapy, so I also worked as an advanced practice physiotherapist and had a split role between being in clinic and then also working as a national manager for one of the largest private healthcare companies in the UK. Loved doing what I was doing. You don't tend to go into physiotherapy for the money. You tend to go into it because you love helping people and you want to make an impact on people's lives. And that was absolutely the case for me. However, what was really frustrating for me in that particular job role was that when I wanted to plan in advance for having a family, my employers basically told me that if I got pregnant, my job wouldn't be there for me when I wanted to come back off of maternity leave, and that I could take a 50% salary reduction and go back in as a junior member of staff 5 days a week into clinic. And I just was unprepared to settle for that ultimatum. I am so passionate and, you know, just so determined, I guess, that like women and parents should not have to choose between being present with their little ones and having a successful career and wanting to live a life on their terms. And I had never come across network marketing before. I'd literally never even heard the term network marketing before. But I was certainly open I was at 12 o'clock. I was very like, okay, what else is out there? Like, I want to be a present parent. I think that was probably the biggest thing for me. And actually what's really funny is that several people had approached me about Nu Skin, and the last time I had said no to Nu Skin, which was a big fat no, was 4 weeks prior. No one had told me that I could create leverage from this business. They positioned it to me as a sales business, and I was not interested in doing sales. I was interested in creating leverage and creating impact and whatever else. So I said no without really knowing what I was saying no to, because they never showed me the big picture. And 4 weeks later, this had happened in work, and at the same time, the same week, my younger sister nearly passed away. She had a routine operation and suffered major complications, and it was that just sprung me into gear. And this may resonate with some of you, that sometimes it takes a little bit of trauma in your life to spring you into action, and that was the case with me. I just thought, right, my sister is not well, I just reprioritized everything. Time was what I was looking for. Leverage is what I was looking for. And Nu Skin came into my life 2 days later in a roundabout way. And I saw the bigger vision from day one. And I just thought, wow, like, how do I get to that blue diamond level? How do I get to, to that point where I can be in that top 1%? And what I loved about this was that I knew that over 2,500 people had done it before me. So I knew it was possible. If they can do it, I could do it. But one of the things that was explained to me from day one is that this business is about mindset, and this business is about consistency. And that was the two most important things that I needed to get right if I wanted to be at that blue diamond level. I didn't even know Team Elite existed back then. So that was where I got to work. I had never done any personal development before. My first personal development book, which is still one of my favorites, was The Secret. And what I love so much about that book is that it put control back into my hands. When I soon realized that, oh my gosh, like, we create our lives by design. Our thoughts become feelings, and the feelings become actions, and actions lead to results. And I was thought, oh my gosh, like, I can do this. But I also, from the very first day that I sat down with my mentor, I asked her, I want you to tell me everything that you said and everything that you did on a daily basis. I want you to tell me from the starter kit that you begun with to how you're inviting people, everything that you do. And I got taught how to do my daily habits, and I was told that if I wanted to take this business seriously, to never skip a day. And I can tell you, hand on my heart, I never ever missed a day of daily habits for my first 4 years in business, and that was including my honeymoon, and that was including my wedding day. I got my active conversations done. So there's ways that you can do this without it being like super intense. But if you plan in advance and you're intentional, then anything is possible. So one of the things that I feel like where we've kind of slacked off a little bit, and Susie will admit this, and I will admit this, when she went to the leadership retreat over in Europe, and when we met together before Christmas, a lot of people put up their hands and said they weren't being 100% consistent with their daily habits. They weren't doing the amount of outreach that they should, the amount of follow-ups that they should. They weren't, creating that lead flow. They weren't working on their mindset the way that we used to back in the day. And guess what, guys? It shows in the results that we have across the board in the whole UK market and across Europe. So it's very simple. Like, what we want to do is let's go back to what has always worked, what always creates results. And it's an energy-based business, guys. So we wanted to, number one, pull all of us together. And I'm on here today to invite you to be part of this, to come and do a 90-day Ruby run. Or if you're Ruby and above, I want you to up rank 1 title, 2 titles. Like, let's go all in for the next 90 days, because this business works in 90-day cycles. So the input that you're putting in now for the next 90 days will show up in the subsequent 90 days. But what I love right now is that if we're running at this for 90 days, it's pretty much taking us up to Marbella, which is so perfect, because from a visualization perspective and everything, like, we used to do this where we would hang like our ruby red dresses on the back of our bedroom door, because if we, we always were color coordinated depending on what title we were aiming for and whatever else. So if you are new here or you haven't hit Ruby yet, like, let this be your time where you make that decision that we're 90 days. I can see Bertie saying it, 90 days all in. So what I've created, and I'm going to put this up into the group afterwards, some of you may remember that I created a 30-day sprint that we did in the European OTG group. It was in September 2024. However, we don't want to just work intentionally for 30 days. We need longer than that to gain momentum and to create habits and to duplicate this into our businesses. So I have made a few tweaks based on, simple upgrades, like the fact that, we've got Prism now. So we want to be doing more Prism scans. We want to be doing more wellness consultations, skincare consultations. So that is reflected in the new sprint tracker. So I'll put it in the group after this call. And what I encourage you to do is print it 3 times, because that will take you to 90 days. And you can track your activity for 90 days consistently. And if you're all in, I promise you that you will have more volume, you'll have more team members, you will up rank, you will see it in your bank account. But the biggest thing for me, and this is one of the main messages I want to get across here, it is easier in this business to 10x your efforts than to 2x your efforts. And I know that might not make sense, but it actually is. Because if you're thinking like, oh, I'm not going to get up any earlier, I'm just going to maybe do a couple of extra messages here or there, or I really should log into that training, but maybe I'll watch it back and repeat. Like, that's just maybe like slight changes, which are going to just fall back into bad habits, right? So I'm asking you here to sit and think to yourself, what am I actually committed to doing? What am I prepared to do to 10x my efforts that are going to actually show me better results? And guess what, guys? It doesn't even feel like 10x. It genuinely doesn't. So there's simple little things that you can be doing every single day, like filling out your sprint tracker. We're going to aim for 20 points a day. If you fall short and you get 10, that's probably more than what you're doing right now. And that's the point of this. But if you're going to push yourself, I know Susie Mollison, who's absolute superstar, like I said, is over in Pakistan right now. She was hosting a call for us last night where it's nearly midnight her time. And she shows up regardless. And she was so funny the other day. She was on a call and she was just like, I've not finished my daily activities. It's midnight, so off I go to have my active conversations. And I'm like, it's that sort of commitment where you get it done before you go to sleep. That is really what changes things. So I'm going to upload the sprint tracker. Like I said, there's different points on the side. It's pretty self-explanatory, but if you've got any questions, feel free to message me. That's no problem. I encourage you to get an accountability buddy or a little group together where you are reporting your numbers to people that you respect. Because if you, sometimes it's not great doing it just with an upline or, with downlines. It's better to find like sidelines where you're like, you have that mutual respect and you're like, if they're committed to it, I'm committed to it. You want a little bit of, positive competition where you're like, if they're going to do 15 points, I want to do 16 points. Because I feel like that always drives the energy forward, which is exactly what we want. So yeah, like I said, we're going to run this for 90 days. On top of that, we have got trainings on a Monday night, which are System 7 trainings that Catherine Freeman has graciously put together and opened out for the whole of the UK. And we are going to have the leaders from this leadership group come on a Monday night. It's 30 minutes training, 20 minutes is going to be on a System 7 topic, and 10 minutes is going to be on a product. And guys, this is again going back to basics. This is a huge part of what we should be doing right now. So I encourage everyone, we don't record these calls, be on there live at 8 p.m. every Monday, put it in your diary. And I want to just be really clear here, that was the time that I used to do my personal team calls, and I have stopped doing those team calls because I want to align with the UK market and because I know that we can pour into each other and learn from other leaders and be more successful that way than just being a diluted version of like one team. And that's always the way that I've kind of thought about this. So this is going to be so valuable to hear this information. We need to get back to learning and duplicating the system. How you move product is how you move product, but the system never changes no matter how you're doing the business. And then I also wanted to mention a couple of other things. We have got the OTG online business briefings, which are so amazing to plug into. But if you don't know how to deliver them yet, you should be logging in and learning and setting yourself a goal to be on that rota. Because let me tell you, the people who know their business and can present to a higher standard are the ones that rise the ranks. If you're doing your 15 business presentations to a high standard every month, that's going to convert and you're going to become a Ruby faster. We are in the midst of upgrading the presentations, putting together a Prism document or Prism BB as well, which will hopefully be up and running soon. And then I also want you to mark your diaries because we have got Fast Start trainings in 4 different locations around the UK and Ireland. So we've got Dublin, Glasgow, Leicester and London on the 7th of March. It will be probably doors will open at 9. It will run until 2 p.m. These are going to be 4 areas where there are gold standard fast start training events where you need to get in front of your top leaders who are going to teach you System 7. And then it's going to be something that you are going to be able to understand and teach and duplicate into your businesses so much better. And again, I just want to share a little story because I think that stories are always what people remember in this business. But my very first event that I ever got to was a fast start training in Milton Keynes. I was 6 weeks in business. I had never heard a proper business presentation before. I had the amazing Tom Bangard, Jennifer Maguire, and other amazing leaders that were there presenting. And I filled a full notepad from watching the business briefing and being like, oh my God, this is how you explain it. This is how you articulate it. But then we did System 7 training and I was like, oh my gosh, there's a system to making this business a success. Before that point, I would say I probably had messaged close to 1,000 people and not got one yes. Okay, because I was word vomiting, I wasn't in control, I didn't know the 5 C's of inviting, I didn't know how to do a business presentation. I went to that one event and I fast tracked my business exponentially because I learned the system. And I'm so passionate about System 7 and how it will help us grow, but you have got to be committed to getting to one of these events in one of these cities on the 7th of March, and it's your job to bring as many people with you as possible. So don't just put a message into your group chat, follow people up one-on-one and be like, are you coming to this event? So we've got that, and then we've got Marbella. So we've got so much to be looking forward to, guys. And if we go back to basics with running these events and filling your cups, filling your cups up regularly by being around, like proximity is power, around the people that are chasing the same goals and dreams as you are. That is what is going to create this success. So one more piece of advice that I want to give you before going into this 90 days is I want you to speak to your family, speak to your loved ones, speak to your support system, and let them know what it is that you want to go away and create, why you are doing what you're doing. Involve your family, but also let them know that this is not just you sitting scrolling on your phone. You're not doom scrolling. You're not messing around. That you want to create your dream life for you and your family, or you and your partner, or whoever it might be. And this is what you need in return from them. You need their support. You might need them to, look after the kids a little bit more, or to cook dinner, or the house might be a little bit of a mess for a while, but this is what I'm creating. And I always think of this analogy of like getting an airplane off the ground or a rocket off the ground. You need like 90% of the energy in that takeoff phase. That the energy that it needs and that momentum to get it off the ground before you go into cruise control, and you can then start gliding. Okay, so what the problem we have right now is people are gliding before they get off the ground, right? And we're not creating that momentum. So 90 days all in. I hope you're all in with me. If I can do it with a 4-week-old, I'm sure you guys can do it as well. But it's just about your 100% on one day. Might not be the same as another day, but you just do what you can and push yourself that little bit more. And like I said, we are going to have so much training over the next 2 weeks from top leaders who've had exponential success that are going to be going through how to maximize all of these different income producing activities in the Sprint Tracker so that you can, upskill and get better and, drive that volume and whatever else. So I hope you're excited as I am. I'm glad that he's kind of gone asleep and dozing here and has been pretty chilled overall because I was stressing before I came on here. But yeah, if you need anything from me, let me know or comment in here. Anything you need from OTG, we're one big family. We're here to help everyone win and everyone succeed. And I hope that I will see you all at one of the events on March 7th. The tickets are going to be live this week, so just make sure you're there with guests for the BB, and they can stay on for the training if they want. So let's max out all of these rooms, and then we want to see all of the photographs. Let's see who can get the most people at each event, and we can share them in the group after this. So thank you so much. So great to be on here. I feel like I haven't been on here in ages, and I wish you all of the best in your 90-day run, and let's absolutely dominate Marbella and be on that stage taking over with our Ruby Army. Thanks so much.